Most men think divorce is an ending, a collapse, a breaking point. But what if I told you that while you're sitting in silence, trying to rebuild what was shattered, your ex-wife is about to enter a psychological storm she never saw coming? Not karma, not fantasy, not wishful thinking, but the unavoidable collision between expectation and reality that rewires her entire identity from the inside out. Because when she walked away, she didn't just leave a marriage. She stepped into a world built on imagination, validation, and borrowed confidence. And sooner or later, that world stops holding her up. The inspirational quotes fade, the dating apps lose their sparkle, the attention feels empty, and the story she told herself begins to crumble under the weight of the truth she's been running from. What you're about to discover isn't about blame. It's about psychology. Raw, unfiltered human psychology, and the deep unraveling that happens when someone trades a real life for a fantasy and finds out the fantasy isn't real. Before we dive in, make sure you like this video, subscribe to True Embrace, and turn on notifications, because what comes next will change the way you understand divorce forever. When a marriage ends, most people imagine a clean, emotional break. Two individuals parting ways, beginning new chapters, slowly healing at their own pace. But what actually happens inside a woman's mind after she leaves a long-term marriage is far more complex, layered, and psychologically turbulent than anyone warns her about. The world tells her she's strong, brave, and empowered for choosing herself. But no one explains what happens when the emotional high fades and reality begins to expose the cracks underneath her newfound independence. What starts as a thrilling escape quickly becomes an unexpected confrontation with her own unmet needs, subconscious fears, and unresolved internal conflicts. And the deeper she travels into this mental landscape, the more she realizes she wasn't running from you. She was running from herself. In the early weeks after the divorce, everything feels like a fresh start. She's applauded by friends, celebrated on social media, and encouraged to live her best life. She rearranges the house, signs up for activities, goes on dates, and immerses herself in validation. She believes this is growth. She believes this is freedom. But what she's really doing is constructing a psychological buffer, a narrative that allows her to avoid confronting the discomfort of uncertainty. Humans cannot function without a story to anchor themselves to, and hers is simple. I made the right decision. My new life will be better. But beneath this narrative lies a growing tension, a quiet whisper that reality may not match expectation. During your marriage, whether she admitted it or not, you were the gravitational center of her world. Every decision, every plan, every emotion moved around the shared life you built. Even when she complained about you, the complaints themselves reinforced your role in her internal structure. Removing that center doesn't create freedom, it creates free fall. And in that free fall, she must rebuild not just a life, but an entire identity. For the first time in years, every choice is hers alone. At first, this feels empowering. Eventually, it becomes exhausting. The dating phase is where her internal narrative begins to collide with reality. On the surface, she appears confident. Men message her, compliment her, take her out. She interprets the attention as affirmation, mistaking quantity for quality. But the moment these interactions break the surface level, something shifts. A man who seems perfect on paper says all the right things, until she realizes he knows absolutely nothing about her genuine fears, her childhood wounds, her quirks, her softness, her complexities. With you, there was history, shared experiences, unspoken understanding. With these men, there is nothing but novelty. And novelty, as intoxicating as it feels at first, cannot replicate connection. Psychologically, the first fracture forms the moment she notices the emptiness behind the attention she receives. She tries to ignore it. She tries to push harder. More dates, more nights out, more conversations with friends who keep reinforcing her narrative. But as she interacts with more men, something unexpected happens. Without meaning to, she begins comparing them to you. The comparison is not conscious, but the subconscious mind is always evaluating patterns. The man who interrupts her reminds her of how you always listened. The man who's distant highlights your consistency. The man who's reckless makes your stability glow brighter in hindsight. It's not that you were perfect, it's that you were real. Around 6 to 8 months in, the cracks in her narrative widen. The novelty wears off, the social support dwindles, and the emotional performance becomes heavier. Her friends tire of hearing dating stories. Her children may show signs of emotional instability. She feels pulled in 1,000 directions and grounded in none. And for the first time, she wonders quietly, did I make a mistake? But this question is radioactive. To acknowledge it would mean dismantling the entire identity she built post-divorce. So instead of facing the truth, she overcorrects, either by chasing validation or withdrawing from the world entirely. What she experiences next is psychological revisionism. That terrible marriage she escaped suddenly doesn't seem so terrible. Those flaws she couldn't tolerate now appear manageable. The future she believed she was destined for starts to look uncertain. But admitting this truth would require acknowledging that her decision was influenced not by clarity, but by emotional confusion, misguided expectations, or misplaced dissatisfaction. So the brain protects her by creating a new story. Maybe you've changed. Maybe you've evolved. Maybe things could be different now. This story allows her to consider reconciliation without admitting she was wrong. The dating pool becomes another harsh teacher. The attention she once found empowering now reveals itself as shallow. She realizes many men see her as an opportunity, not a partner. Some are unavailable, some are untrustworthy, some are emotionally chaotic. The rare good men she encounters have options. Options she cannot compete with in the same way she once could before marriage and children. Slowly, painfully, she realizes she miscalculated the market. The life she thought awaited her does not exist in the way she imagined. As the 1-year mark approaches, psychological defenses begin collapsing. She feels loneliness not as a quiet sadness, but as a profound existential ache. This loneliness isn't about missing you specifically. It's about missing stability, connection, identity, purpose. It's the loneliness of someone who dismantled her entire world without building a new one capable of sustaining her. This is when the late-night messages start. Not because she wants to return to the past, but because the past represents the last place she felt anchored. But by now, you are healing. You are rebuilding. You are rising from the wreckage with new strength, new clarity, and new purpose. And this, more than anything, intensifies her psychological turmoil. You've become the man she always hoped you'd be, but you became him without her. As her post-divorce journey continues, the cracks that began forming in her emotional world widen into fractures she can no longer ignore. The high she experienced in the early months fades, replaced by a growing heaviness she doesn't understand and can't admit. She told herself she was beginning a new life, stepping into possibility, claiming a future she felt she deserved. But what she is beginning to realize, slowly, painfully, is that she didn't step into a new world. She stepped into a void disguised as freedom, dressed up with validation, and sustained by the belief that anything was better than staying in a marriage that had become too familiar, too predictable, too real. And now that the noise has quieted, she is left alone with the truth she never anticipated. She underestimated the weight of stability, the value of partnership, and the psychological scaffolding that marriage provided. This is where her mind begins retreating into the past, not with nostalgia, but with analytical precision. Her brain starts reconstructing old memories, rearranging them like puzzle pieces she once threw away without caring where they landed. She revisits moments she convinced herself were proof of incompatibility, only to find those moments now softened by context. What once seemed like your flaws now appear as human imperfections. What she once labeled as lack of excitement now looks like emotional consistency. And as the comparisons between her past and present intensify, the story she built after the divorce becomes harder to sustain. Her friendships also begin to shift in ways she never expected. At first, Her friends celebrated her independence. They cheered her on, offered constant reassurance, and insisted she deserved someone better. But as time passes, the social energy changes. Married friends start pulling away, not out of malice, but out of discomfort. She becomes a reminder that marriage is fragile, that security can vanish, that dissatisfaction can lead to life-altering choices. She's no longer just a friend. She's a possibility most married women fear. Invitations shrink. Group dynamics shift. She feels the drop in subtle ways. The group chat where she's no longer central, the dinner she wasn't invited to, the sense that she has become an outsider to the world she once belonged to. Her single friends, too, evolve into a different kind of challenge. Initially, they embraced her as one of their own, welcoming her into their chaotic freedom. But now, they become competitors in a dating world governed by scarcity. They understand the landscape better than she does. They know how the market works. They've adapted to it, while she still secretly believes she deserves a certain type of man, a certain lifestyle, a certain emotional experience. And though they never say it aloud, they all know she doesn't occupy the same category as them, whether due to age, children, emotional expectations, or the weight of her past. Slowly, silently, she becomes a misfit. Too divorced for the married world, too burdened for the single world. This contraction of her social ecosystem magnifies her loneliness. She once imagined divorce would expand her world, open doors she never knew existed. Instead, her world becomes smaller, tighter, and more suffocating than before. She finds herself longing for conversations that matter, for companionship that feels safe, for the comfort of someone who truly knows her. And whether she admits it or not, her mind drifts back to you. Not because she is in love, but because you represent something her new life cannot replicate. Emotional security, stability, familiarity, and a shared history that no new man can compete with. As her internal tension builds, she begins experiencing cognitive dissonance, the psychological pain of holding two incompatible truths. She must maintain the belief that leaving was the right decision, while confronting the reality that her life has not improved. This dissonance drains her mental energy. It affects her sleep. It disrupts her concentration. It changes her appetite. She becomes irritable, anxious, or numb. She cycles between mania and exhaustion, hyperactivity followed by emotional collapse. Her body manifests the conflict her mind refuses to face. Financial strain often arrives next. Divorce is expensive, not just legally, but emotionally and practically. Maintaining the same lifestyle alone is far more stressful than she predicted. Every bill, every unexpected expense, every moment of economic uncertainty chips away at the fantasy she built of independent empowerment. She begins realizing that independence without resources is not freedom. It's instability dressed up as strength. She traded a safety net for a tightrope, and now she must walk it alone. Yet the most unexpected challenge is the absence of physical touch. Not sex, touch. The everyday physical connection that happens naturally in marriage. A hand brushing against her back, shared warmth in bed, a comforting hug on a difficult day. These touches regulated her body, lowered her stress, grounded her emotions. Without them, she begins experiencing skin hunger, a real psychological and physiological condition. She starts waking up more tired, feeling stressed for no reason, getting sick more often. Her body is signaling a need she cannot meet without confronting the emotional truth she's avoiding. She misses the comfort she once took for granted. The deeper she sinks into this internal struggle, the more she begins living a double life. Publicly, she maintains the image of a strong, independent woman thriving after divorce. Privately, she cries in her car, feels hollow in her home, and scrolls through her phone searching for purpose. Her posts become performances. Her laughter becomes a habit, not a feeling. She becomes an actress trapped in the role she created, unable to rewrite the script without admitting she wrote the wrong one. And then, inevitably, the collapse comes. It might happen after a disappointing date, a lonely night, a financial setback, or a moment when she sees you smiling, thriving, or simply existing without her. In that instant, everything she suppressed rises to the surface. Her narrative falls apart. Her certainty dissolves, and she is left face to face with the truth she avoided for months or years. Leaving did not solve her dissatisfaction. It magnified it. As time stretches further from the day she walked away, the psychological unraveling becomes less theoretical and more visceral. She no longer has the emotional momentum from the early divorce phase to propel her forward. The high has evaporated, the social validation has thinned, and the fantasy she built is no longer strong enough to shield her from the accumulated weight of reality. Instead, she finds herself slipping into a state of quiet introspection, sometimes gentle, sometimes brutal, where the comforting illusions she once relied on no longer hold up under the light of experience. What began as liberation now feels like disorientation, and the world she thought she was stepping into has transformed into something unfamiliar, unpredictable, and often unforgiving. Her dating life, once a source of excitement, morphs into a continuous cycle of disappointment and emotional fatigue. In the beginning, she believed every match represented possibility. But now, each conversation feels repetitive. Each date feels like a performance rather than a connection. The novelty of meeting new men has worn thin, replaced by the exhausting realization that most are either unaligned, unavailable, or simply uninterested in who she is beyond the surface. She notices how frequently she's objectified, how predictable the compliments are, how quickly physical intimacy becomes the focal point. The more she sees it, the more she feels the hollowness of the attention she once celebrated. With each date, her internal comparison mechanism continues sharpening. Every man she meets becomes another reference point that inadvertently highlights what she lost. It isn't that you were perfect, it's that you were real. Her subconscious keeps searching for the feeling of safety, familiarity, and partnership she once dismissed as routine. She realizes, often unwillingly, how rare emotional consistency truly is. When a man talks over her, she remembers how you listened. When a man is distant, she remembers your reliability. When a man is reckless or unstable, she remembers your steadiness. The world she left now looks far more stable than the one she entered, and this shift terrifies her, because it threatens the identity she built around the decision to leave. As the emotional strain intensifies, she begins noticing something far deeper. Her identity is unraveling at a cellular level. Marriage, for all its flaws, had given her psychological structure. It wasn't just a relationship, it was a framework through which she viewed the world. Her habits, routines, decisions, even her self-perception were built around being part of a unit. Now, without that identity, she feels like a ghost in her own life. She doesn't know which side of the bed feels like hers. She doesn't know what foods she likes without the influence of shared habits. She doesn't even know what she truly wants, because for years her desires were intertwined with yours. She thought freedom would feel like expansion. Instead, it feels like fragmentation. Financial strain deepens the psychological fracture. She underestimated the mental toll of managing life alone. Every unexpected bill feels heavier. Every financial decision feels riskier. The mental load of carrying an entire household alone slowly erodes her sense of control. She misses the security she once had, not just financially, but emotionally. She misses having someone to discuss decisions with, someone to rely on, someone who made the weight feel lighter. And while she would never admit it openly, she realizes that independence without support feels less like empowerment and more like survival. Physical touch deprivation begins affecting her in ways she doesn't understand. She starts feeling anxious for no apparent reason. Sleep becomes elusive. Her mood becomes unpredictable. These aren't random emotional swings. They are physiological responses to the absence of human connection she once took for granted. The absence of small, intimate moments, the brush of a hand, the warmth of shared space, the grounding presence of another body, creates a deficit she cannot fill with distractions or temporary companionship. Her body remembers what her mind is trying to forget. Meanwhile, the gap between her public persona and private reality widens to the point of emotional collapse. She posts photos with exaggerated smiles. She writes captions about growth, confidence, and self-love. But every time she hits post, she feels a twinge of emptiness because she knows the person she portrays is not the person she becomes when the door closes. She is exhausted from performing happiness, exhausted from defending her choice, exhausted from pretending that everything is moving upward when she feels herself sinking. The breaking point often comes unexpectedly, not through a dramatic moment, but through a quiet one. It might be seeing you at the grocery store laughing with your kids. It might be a social media photo of you looking healthier, stronger, more at peace. It might be hearing about your progress from a mutual friend. Or it might be something as simple as seeing you smile in a way she hasn't seen in years. In that moment, a realization hits her with force she cannot emotionally brace for. You didn't fall apart without her, you evolved. And this realization destroys her internally, because now she's confronted with the truth she spent years avoiding. The marriage didn't fail because you were incapable of happiness or growth. The marriage failed because she convinced herself that the life she wanted existed somewhere else. And now she sees you becoming the man she once dreamed you would be. But your transformation happened outside the world she left. She miscalculated. She believed she could walk away and still hold on to the emotional security that partnership provided. But now she sees that stability wasn't a condition she could recreate at will. It was something she already had. What haunts her most is not the absence of you, but the presence of what you've become. She sees the strength, clarity, and emotional maturity you demonstrated through healing. She sees the version of you that would have made the marriage thrive. But she doesn't get to benefit from it. You do. And someone else eventually will. This is the psychological torture she cannot escape. She wasn't replaced. The version of you she always hoped for was created by the very pain she caused. And now she must confront a life shaped by a decision she can no longer undo. When a long marriage ends, the emotional aftermath rarely follows the narrative people expect. For men, the journey is often internal, quiet reconstruction, hidden grief, rebuilding identity through action rather than expression. But for many women who initiate divorce, the emotional trajectory is far more complex, more unpredictable, and ultimately more painful than the confident exterior they present. What begins as empowerment slowly evolves into psychological fragmentation, and the illusion of freedom begins dissolving into a confrontation with truth that becomes impossible to outrun. In the beginning, she believes she has stepped into a new, expansive life. Validation flows in from friends, strangers, social media, and dating apps. It feels like rebirth. But beneath the surface, she is not stepping into a new self. She is running from the one she left behind. The emotional high of reinvention shields her from the consequences of her choice, but only temporarily. As time progresses, the foundation begins to crack. The dating world that once looked exciting reveals itself as shallow and inconsistent. Attention loses its meaning. Compliments lose their impact. And she discovers that connection cannot be replicated simply by replacing a partner. It must be earned through emotional intimacy that takes years to build. Slowly, the comparisons begin. Not because she wants to remember you, but because her subconscious does. Every new man she meets reveals a different dimension of what she lost. Your emotional steadiness, your familiarity, your history, your loyalty. She realizes that the flaws she magnified during the marriage were simply human imperfections, and the stability she dismissed was actually the foundation she needed. Psychological dissonance grows as she struggles to maintain the belief that leaving was the right decision, even as mounting evidence suggests otherwise. Her world shrinks. Married friends pull away. Single friends become competitors. Her routines feel empty. Her home feels unfamiliar. The identity she built around being a wife dissolves, and she must face the terrifying reality that she doesn't fully know who she is without the life she walked away from. Financial strain tightens its grip. Emotional exhaustion deepens. Physical touch deprivation intensifies her anxiety in ways she doesn't understand. And beneath all of this lies the growing awareness that her new life is not better. It's simply different. Different in ways she never anticipated. Different in ways that hurt. Then comes the moment she cannot escape, confronting what you have become. Your healing, growth, confidence, and transformation undermine the story she told herself after leaving. You did not collapse, you rose. You became stronger, more self-aware, more grounded. And this creates a psychological torment more powerful than any argument or memory. She now sees the man she hoped you would be, but he exists beyond her reach. Not because you rejected her, but because life moved forward, because pain refined you, because loss rebuilt you. In the end, her regret is not simply about losing you. It's about losing the life she later realized she needed, the stability she misunderstood, the partnership she underestimated, and the version of herself she abandoned along the way. The tragedy is not that she made a mistake, it's that she must now live with a truth she can never rewrite.